Nope. Maybe I don't have that. Maybe I don't know. I have an old iPad right now.
Oh, okay.
Does it make a difference?
Depending how old.
Yeah. All right. Let me do this. Let me switch over then. I'll log right back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Council Member Collazo. Can you hear me? Oh, you are muted. Just wanted to test your mic.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes,
All right.
sir. Loud and clear. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sid. Can you hear me? You're muted. Still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Madam Clerk, do we have quorum? Madam Clerk, do we have quorum?
Sorry, I thought you heard me. Yes, we do, sir. We do, Mayor.
1 second.
Mhm.
Madam Clerk, it is 6:34. Let's call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Council Member Collazo,
Present.
Council Member Dieguez,
Here.
Council Member Rodriguez,
Present.
Council Member Ruano is not present. Council Member Alvarez is not present. Vice Mayor Rodriguez,
Yep.
Mayor Sid.
Present.
Mayor, you have the quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's begin with today's prayer led by Father Joseph Lucas from Christ the Savior Orthodox Church.
Let us pray to the Lord. Lord, have mercy. O Lord our God, who holds all things in the palm of your hand, who always blesses those who bless you, and who pours out mercy upon the face of the earth, we give thanks to you for every good thing, and we ask you to continue to bless and protect this community of Miami Lakes. all who live here, who work here, and who visit here. Grant peace and stability to our community and guide all of our civil authorities rightly, that they may govern and watch over our community with wisdom. For all wisdom comes from you, O Lord, and to you we praise your holy name, now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Thank you, Father Joseph. Now let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Rafael Barredo from PAC 484.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rafael. You did a great job. You may be seated. Now for the Better You Minute by Ariel Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members, city staff, and residents of the city that's growing beautifully, Miami Lakes. We all have our own opinions. They're based on personal preferences, our upbringing, and our life experiences. As we near Election Day, it seems like those preferences can bring us to lose an important trait, civility. While civic engagement and some political banter are great ways to express our democratic rights, we must always find a way to be respectful towards others. At the end of the day, although we may disagree on the means to the end, our end is the same. We all want a better tomorrow for ourselves and our families. So if we disagree with someone, let's hear them out. If we think someone's wrong in their way of thinking, let's explain our point of view without attacking theirs. If we have a friend who has different beliefs than us, let's strengthen that friendship. Let's show everyone respect and treat everyone with civility, remembering that we may not always be right. But if we bring our ideas to the table and engage in civil dialogue, we can find solutions to the problems we all face together. Let's work together and forge a strong community we can all be proud of and keep our community growing beautifully. Thank you, and remember to vote.
Thank you, Ariel, and thank you for always setting the stage for our council meeting. It means a lot that you take your time to, utilize these inspiring words to motivate us and everybody that might be listening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Now we're moving on, council. To the order of business, deferrals, additions, deletions. I will be pulling item 9D from consent. I will be moving item 9D from consent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to also pull 9B from consent.
9B, got it. So far we have 9B and 9D pulled from consent. Anything else? Any other deferrals, additions, deletions, council? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move the agenda as it currently stands, or with the changes that you announced.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
as you know, I plan on giving a report on the 170th on the bridge litigation. I was wondering if we could move that up to the beginning or as far as you possibly can, instead of having to wait all the way to the end.
I'm guessing we'll have to reopen the order of business.
I'll motion to reopen the agenda.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor to reopen the order of business?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and we'll move up the attorney's report to right after public comments. If everybody's okay with that, do we have a motion to approve the order of business?
I'll move to approve it as you read it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to public comments. Madam Clerk?
Yes. Good evening. All comments or questions from this virtually meeting public shall be directed to the mayor in a courteous tone to ensure the orderly conduct and efficiency of this meeting. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes maximum per person. No clapping, applauding, heckling, verbal outburst in support of or in opposition to a speaker or his/her remarks shall be permitted. Should a member of the virtually attending audience become unruly or behave in any manner that disrupts the orderly and the efficient conduct of this meeting, such person will be asked to leave the Zoom meeting. And as a courtesy to others, all electronic devices must be set to silent mode to avoid disruption of the proceedings. So public comments. We see from we have 28 participants tonight in this meeting. What I see is, let's see the names. Actually, I don't see any names in the list of participants. So if you are here in the virtual meeting and you would like to speak, please do so now. State your name and address for the record. We're all listening, so welcome. If you wish to speak, please do so now. Again, I don't see anyone. Let the record reflect that I see Council Member Alvarez has joined the meeting. Good evening, sir. Let the record reflect that.
Good evening, ma'am.
Herman, do you see anyone? I don't see anyone in the participants list, but if you see one, please let me know.
No, just one person from the public at this moment, which is Rafael de la Vega for the committee nomination, but not for public comments.
All right. I'm going to proceed, Mayor, with the written public comments. Tonight, we have 2 written public comments. The first one was received earlier today and is from Ms. Hope Reynolds. As always, I forwarded her email to all of you. And looking at the email that she sent of public comment, it has to do with the debate, the candidate forum debate that was hosted by the town of Miami Lakes last Friday. And then we have another email, written public comment from Ms. Bonnie Cintron, also sent earlier today. And this one has to do with the bridge at 170th Street. So my office received 2 written public comments. Let the record reflect that they were shared and that their names have been stated for purposes of the record. That's all.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Please unmute your microphones at this moment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Please unmute your microphone at this moment. Once, twice. Seeing none, public comments is officially closed. We're moving on to attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As all of you know, last week, the court granted Miami-Dade County's downright and the city of Hialeah's motion to dismiss. It still hasn't granted Lennar's motion. They didn't want that one heard at the time. Lennar's motion is going to be heard in the next couple of weeks. I fully expect that the judge's ruling will be consistent. I'm not going to agree to an entry of an order, and I'm going to attempt to re-argue it. But the fact is, Lennar is still technically a party, and the litigation at the trial court level is still proceeding. Motions to dismiss are not typically granted. A motion to dismiss has to be granted because you just can't state a cause of action, or you don't state a cause of action. The court has to accept everything in the complaint as being true for the purpose of that motion only. And if everything in the motion, as we allege it, is true, the court, and it states a cause of action, the court cannot grant the motion to dismiss. So the first thing I want to, one of the first things I want to say is I'm going to give you my take on some of the issues, not every issue and not every fact, or, the order is 20 something pages. Actually, it's 18 pages. The proposed order that we submitted to the court is 20 something pages. So to go through all of this, in its entirety and thoroughly, is not something I think is appropriate to do now. I don't want to give away our playbook as to what we're going to do next. Other than to say, I fully plan on appealing tomorrow morning unless somebody tells me otherwise. I am filing a notice of appeal tomorrow morning. In nothing that I say do I mean any disrespect to Judge Bloomstein. Am I trying to criticize him personally, trying to, cast any aspersions on him or anything like that? We disagree. I'm entitled to disagree, but I certainly am not trying to impugn his reputation or anything like that. I just disagree with a ruling, and that's why we have appellate courts, in case someone disagrees with the judge's ruling, so that you can go to the appellate court. I'm not going to give away, I'm being a little bit repetitive, but I'm not going to give away everything I'm going to do or say. I can assure you that the city of Hialeah and Miami-Dade County are not doing a whole lot of this on the dais. They are doing it in executive session, and I want you to consider this my formal request for an executive session as soon as possible, as soon as everybody's schedule permits. I'd like to do an executive session where I can go through this more at length. We've gone through the judge's order. There are several statutes and ordinances at play. Hold on, guys. So what I need, one of the things, the judge starts out saying that the county, and he cites the statute 336.02, that the county has, the right to maintain roads, establish new roads, discontinue old roads, keep the roads in good repair. And that's all true. The Florida statute gives them that power, without a doubt. But it also says in Florida statute 335.015, which is the statute cited in the road transfer agreement, that they can transfer jurisdiction and responsibility for public roads to the town, which is exactly what they did in this case. So yes, the county usually has the jurisdiction over county roads unless they transfer them, which in this case they did, and it's specifically stated in the road transfer agreement. Then he cites to another statute that talks about how the county is entitled to vacate, abandon, discontinue, and close public or private streets and things like that. But that statute specifically says it's with respect to property under their control, meaning the county's control. So once again, the road transfer agreement, the road transfer agreement that's in place here was not unique to Miami-Dade. It's not unique. It's not the first time it's ever happened. These are very, very, very common throughout the state. And the agreement that was entered into with Miami Lakes back in 2003 is essentially a boilerplate agreement that they've used with every municipality throughout the county. Then, this is where I think the judge is really, really off base, as the phrase traffic engineering is mentioned in the opinion throughout, and he continues to say that that the county retained traffic engineering, and they did. 100% they retained traffic engineering rights in the road transfer agreement. but you have to see what the definition of traffic engineering is in the county ordinance. It says, for purposes of this article, traffic engineering means that phase of engineering which deals with planning, geometric design, planning and geometric designs of streets, highways, roads, alleys, and other places used for travel, and is related to the safe, convenient, and feasible transportation of persons and goods. What it doesn't say there is that traffic engineering involves construction. Construction is civil engineering. That's another branch of engineering, like electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. There in no place will you find traffic engineering as being construction, not the way they define it in their agreement, and not the way it's defined in not the way they define it in the code, in the county code, and not the way they define it in our agreement. It's just not what was meant. It's not what was meant either in the county code or in our agreement. The county code also says that traffic engineering services shall be performed by Traffic and Transportation Department. He cites the county code, which is 2.96 and 2.95. And it talks about having the county traffic division or whatever has exclusive jurisdiction over all traffic control devices, and both unincorporated and incorporated. In that very statute, in 2.2-96, it specifically talks about how they can enter into an agreement, intergovernmental agency agreements, to maintain and do all kinds of things, basically an interlocal agreement, as we call it. Then it says the department, he cites to the fact that it says in there that the department shall retain exclusive jurisdiction over the permanent closure of access. That's not opening, but let's say permanent closure of access is something that they retain exclusive jurisdiction. Let's say we give them that. It still requires under the agreement that the one who does the construction to the street is the town of Miami Lakes. That they did not keep. That is not within the exclusive jurisdiction of the court. This was explained to the judge. He did not put it in his order. It's something that we're going to have to explain on appeal. Then he goes on in the order that the road transfer agreement only transferred then existing roads. And we went into that at length during the hearing. And what I explained to the judge was, yes, that portion of Northwest 170th Street doesn't exist, but if you look at the road transfer agreement, it specifically says construction and improvements to roads are ours. So by connecting this bridge with, with all the gravel and everything else that you have to convert to a road, the improvements onto 170th are ours within the town of Miami Lakes. They can build up to, FDOT land, and then if FDOT gives them a permit, which they did, then they can build on FDOT. But to come into the town of Miami Lakes and improve 170th, which this is an improvement to 170th, they had to, that is something that is up to the town of Miami Lakes. The court doesn't think so. The court thinks that they didn't convey it to us, so they get to do it. Well, if they didn't convey 170th and there's no street there, the county, and specifically Downright and Lennar, cannot come on to to city property and trespass and build without our permit. If the county is building the road with their personnel, that's something else. But for Downright and Lennar to come in and do that, I've got a problem with that, and I don't think they can do that. All right, moving on. one of the issues that I have with the court is to get an injunction, which is what we were seeking, we had to prove that there's a substantial likelihood of success on the merits. It's 4 elements: substantial likelihood of success on the merits, unavailability of an adequate remedy at law, likelihood of irreparable harm, and that it serves the public interest. I believe we had a substantial likelihood of success on the merits. We have an agreement. The agreement says what it says. Adequate remedy at law is pretty straightforward. They're going to continue to do this. We can't get any money. It's not like we're suing them for money. We are suing them to stop them from doing something every day. So there is no adequate remedy at law. We can't get money damages. Irreparable harm, if an injunction is not entered, they're going to dump tons of traffic on our streets. We can't fix that. That's irreparable. We believe that constitutes irreparable harm, and that blends in with serving the public interest. Obviously, we think it serves the public interest not to jam up our streets with unnecessary traffic. But then the court went on to say that we didn't prove this. Well, the problem I have with that is that at a motion to dismiss stage, and Josh knows this, and I'm sure Jeffrey remembers this, is at a motion to dismiss stage, we don't have to prove anything. What we allege has to be taken as true. Proving is for other hearings, when we try and get the actual injunction, at a motion for summary judgment stage, or even a trial stage. But so I have, I take issue with that. Now, then he goes on to say, the order goes on to say that then in the order, there's a doctrine called ultra virus, ULTRA, and then the next word is virus, VIRES. There are certain things that the government can't do. You didn't have the authority to do that. At one point, the judge in the order states that he didn't believe that the county had the authority to enter into this type of an agreement where it gives up that authority. We disagree with him. And then he says in the order, but even if they did have the authority to do that, they didn't give it up. Well, I think I've gone through at this meeting and other reasons. He believes that that traffic engineering means what they are trying to do, and I disagree with it. And then to say that the county couldn't do it, that makes it even worse, because now essentially the reason for the road transfer agreement is non-existent. And if it's non-existent, for us not to have control, planning, design, or anything over our streets, then why have we spent, God knows how much money since 2003 improving all of these roads and maintaining all of these roads when we have an agreement that doesn't give us the power that we thought it did as far as controlling them and everything else. But that's a discussion for another day, and that's a discussion for executive session. At one point, the judge, for some reason, says that the second amended complaint is devoid of any factual allegations that the county directed downright to work within the town's boundaries. We disagree. Paragraphs 14, 20, 36, and 37 just to begin with make the allegation. So we don't understand why he said that. Then he goes on, he attacked some of the other elements, but the one that's a little puzzling to me is the fact where he says, in every litigation, you have to join what's called indispensable parties, meaning people that have an interest in it and will have an interest in the outcome of the litigation. We don't believe that we needed to join FDOT. FDOT, the only thing FDOT did was enter or grant a permit to Lennar to build on the bridge. That's all they did. They didn't take any affirmative action to open the bridge. They, from what I understand, all they said was, if you want to build on the bridge and let people go over it, you're entitled to do it. Now, that bridge, they can divert that bridge any way they want. That bridge doesn't end and then 170th starts. They can divert that bridge north and never once come into Miami-Dade. Unfortunately, that may involve eminent domain of certain houses and certain property and things like that. But to tell us that we have to include FDOT because they're issuing a permit for people to pave on their bridge, I think, I don't agree with it. But let's assume that that we did include FDOT. FDOT would take the same position that is referenced by the county in the court's order, because the county takes the position, it kind of speaks out of both sides of its mouth, which is, all we did was issue a permit. We didn't tell anybody to do anything. We disagree with that, but that's the county's position. All we did was issue a permit. So we just let people build. Whether they build or not is up to them, and we can't get in trouble for that. And then on the other hand, the county says, yeah, but if we wanted to, we could. So the judge seemed to say in his order that if all the county did was issue a permit, they can't be held liable for that. Well, that's all that FDOT said. FDOT, that's the only thing they did. So if I were to have sued FDOT, then the only FDOT would have come in and said, wait a minute, all I did was issue a permit. You shouldn't be suing me. And I'm hard pressed to argue against it. I will essentially sue them for no reason. But let's assume that that were the only issue with the complaint. What the courts do, and what I believe the court is obligated to do, is to allow us leave to amend. I would tell you that very, very, very few motions to dismiss are ever granted with prejudice, which means that you can't refile. Very few. So in this case, what typically the judges do is they say, you know what, I believe that DOT is an indispensable party. You've got 10, 15, 20 days to amend your complaint. The court maintains jurisdiction of the case. You've got 10 or 15 days to amend your complaint and name and serve FDOT as a party. And I would have done it. Then FDOT would come in, filed its motion to dismiss. I would have said, they probably have a point, Judge. I don't know why they're here, but you told me to sue them, so I did. And then they'd be out of the case. So I don't necessarily agree with the judge on that. The third DCA, the third District Court of Appeal, will have to decide. You know, if you have questions for me, that's fine. But please don't be surprised if I say, let's discuss it in executive session. I'm certainly willing to, but I kind of want to play it a little close to the vest from here on out, because there are some things that we're going to have to decide, you know, after we speak in executive session. But I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything they want to discuss.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. Roland, explanation. I think a lot of the strategy that we need to discuss should be done in an executive session. I agree with you. So I won't be adding anything on the record tonight.
Councilman Coyalo.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have an opportunity to speak with the attorney and actually both attorneys shortly after the ruling. You know, we're definitely pursuing the legal angle, and I agree with you know, the attorney that maybe our strategy sessions should be disclosed in executive session. But what I wanted to pose to my colleagues on the council, as we exhaust every single legal opportunity, we know the importance that this bridge and the opening and what it means to our residents. And you know, this initial ruling was a blow. One of the things that I discussed with Raul was, is there anything that keeps us from pursuing alternative strategies? I know in the past I proposed several items. I know Ms. Centrone sent an email. I know we've received them from Derek Centrone as well, exploring alternatives. I have seen correspondence between Derek Centrone and FDOT. And while they don't necessarily shut the door completely, they do highlight a very difficult road for us to kind of traverse. But it is a road, right? And during this week's candidate debate, or a week ago on Wednesday, this was a hot button issue. Every single candidate talked about alternatives, bringing people together. What can we do to kind of explore different possibilities? And, you know, depending on the mayoral outcome of this race, we're definitely going to have a new person sitting as mayor, one that may support the opening of the bridge and one that may not. But either way, everybody understands the gravity of this issue, understands the importance of this issue for us. And what I tossed to the attorney was, can we also start working towards bringing all these parties together and start exploring those solutions? And the response that Raul gave me, he did not see why we couldn't do that. So what I wanted to do was set forth the motion to direct staff to start working on bringing all these parties together, whether it be FDOT, our state house representatives that all expressed a willingness to work on this issue, City of Hialeah, Miami-Dade County, and start working at looking at every single opportunity or every single possibility that we can to address this issue, if in case we are dealing with a situation where we might not win the legal battle or the legal argument. I wanted to start moving in that direction. And I'm going to leave you with this thing, Mr. Mann. This might strike a personal chord with you. When the zip code issue, one of the first items that this town pursued, the town was told no by the U.S. Postal Service. We did not take no as an answer. You personally have mounted not taking no as an answer to pursue this issue. And I think that's the same approach that we need to take with FDOT on this issue. Not necessarily take no as an answer and continue to pursue all avenues, because what I've heard from the residents, not just the elected officials that represent both sides, is that they want us to pursue alternatives. So I wanted to make that motion at this time and see if that's something that we can work towards.
I'll second your motion.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman, we'll go all the way around again. We'll start with Councilman Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the reason why I was not going to second the motion, why I think it would be deleterious to the town's benefit to continue having this discussion, is precisely because I think injecting that level or that discussion at this time, when we're talking about the legal strategy, can actually undercut our position. I think, there's a time and a place to have these discussions. I think it's better had an executive session. I think those residents that have asked us our individual positions are pretty well aware of, the various points of view that we have. I know that I've been pretty vocal about mine. But all I have to say is I think these are discussions better to be had at the time when we meet for executive session, because for different reasons. Just going to leave it at that. I will say, though, for the benefit of the other listeners in the public, and I explained this to Ms. Centron by email earlier today after receiving hers, the courts are not the place, and I think most people in the town of Miami Lakes would agree with this, the courts are not the place for public policy discussions from the standpoint of having the court determine what is in the public interest and what's best, right? They're not a legislative body. They're there to interpret the law as it exists, and you get some public policy outcomes from that, but ultimately they're an interpretive body. What we have here is a contract dispute at its core. We cannot even get to the point of really having those discussions about alternative methods if everybody's just going to brush us off to the side. So what this lawsuit helps us to do is to be able to make sure that the contractual obligations are being complied with and that they're giving us an opportunity to be able to present alternative ideas, whether it's Susana Herrera's, whether it's Derek Centron's ideas. The point is that we have been brushed off time and again by certain officials that have no interest in hearing what we have to say. I agree in not taking no for an answer, but I think this is one extension of us saying we're not taking no for an answer. And I think that that separate discussion should be wrapped into the strategic discussion about how we proceed, because one could affect the other. But I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with having any further discussion about what we may or may not do in either the public policy side of things or the legal aspect.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
All right. The one thing I can say is, as far as trying to work with the county and communicating with FDOT and communicating with the city of Hialeah, the old saying, you can talk to your blue in the face. We're blue in the face. I can tell you, before we filed suit, we did everything we could to work with them. We sent dispute resolution letters, little by little. This is not something where we went from, we're having an argument, to a blowout litigation. That is not how this worked. We met with them time and again, with the prior managers, with the current manager. We met with the representatives, commissioners. We've discussed it at every level we can. I can tell you staff has been there. I will continue to work with them. And if someone has an idea, I will certainly consider it and push it. But the amount of correspondence, emails, telephone calls, on and on and on we have tried. And the response has been no. In fact, at other council meetings, I have told you that there were certain occasions when certain people, not the commissioners, but certain people within the county itself were not being necessary. Let's just say they weren't being candid with us. Okay, they weren't being candid, and when we showed them what we had, it did not end well. There is no shortage of us having done everything in our power not to get here. This is not one little elitist municipality who's trying to impose their will on somebody else. We have tried every single thing we can to plan this, to do it right. We have had any kind of settlement proposals, and I can just say things were said to me that were, let's just say, locker room talk, okay? And we were told no, okay? And, I don't want anyone to think that we have not done everything we can, that we are aware of. If somebody has a better idea, I will implement it tomorrow and tell the council and everybody else I can to do it. But we have been all over this, trying to resolve this behind the scenes any number of times. Sorry for being so long-winded.
Raul, to your point, because we did have an opportunity to talk immediately after the ruling, and I remember us kind of discussing the issue, and it seemed like you were, at least at that point in time, supportive of this idea.
I still am.
And it seemed like something reasonable, even more so after Wednesday's debate, because in a couple weeks, we're going to have new representation, and we know political will goes very, very far sometimes. So really, it's on the genesis of that. Every candidate expressed an interest to work with both sides. I heard the word consensus repeatedly over and over again, not taking away. Again, I know that there's some concern that the legal strategy and not discussing the legal strategy, but I think we will be derelict of our duty if we did not take them on their word and start pursuing. Again, I know we've tried, right, with the current people in at play, and maybe that didn't get us very far, but we are going to have a new commissioner representing us. We're going to have state representatives representing us, and again, I just think it merits the old college try, so to speak, to continue to serve as a strategy analogous to whatever legal battle is brewing, and if this item doesn't pass here in with us talking about it, I know that's not necessarily going to be something that I'm going to give up on, and something that I know that individually we can pursue. But I think it speaks volumes if we can come together as a group and decide what that strategy is going to be and continue to pursue every possible angle.
Sure.
So that was the reason I was bringing it up, and I brought it up during your report based on our conversation.
Look, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. In other words, I think we can do what we plan on doing with the appeal tomorrow. To your point, we're going to have a new mayor one way or another. We're going to have a new state rep. We're going to have the two commissioners, one on each side. We're going to have one new commissioner. The old commissioner still has, I believe, 2 years left on his term. So we're going to have a new commissioner. I think there's been significant changes in the political landscape in our adjoining, in our neighboring city. So all of these things may, have the effect of possibly trying to come to a resolution. And I certainly don't want to discourage any of that. I think that is a good idea. It's just, I can tell you right now, legally, we need to go forward and do what we need to do because they're not stopping. I haven't been out to the bridge site in maybe a month or so, but they're continuing on. So it's sooner rather than later.
Vice Mayor.
No, I completely understand what Councilman Collazo is talking about, and this is an issue that directly affects me because it's closest to my home. But those players that we were talking about, the new county mayor, the new rep, and they're not in play yet, right? They don't get sworn in, I believe, till the rep doesn't get sworn in until January, and I think the new mayor as well is in January. So I think that the discussions of with the other plaintiffs is a good idea, but until those players come into play, I think we're just basically spinning in circles. So I think that we need to continue with our legal status and just continue to look at what else we can do. Engage those folks who are 2 weeks away from the next election. We'll know who the next mayor is, and we'll see which way they believe that we can talk to them. But I think that we need to wait for those the commissioner and the mayor to be sworn in from the county so we can get that at least moving. And I think you have a good positive people in the city to our south that are new folks there that we can work with. But I think we need to wait. Those discussions need to take place once those new players are put into place. That's just the way I see it.
Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm in agreement with Councilmember Rodriguez and Dieguez. I'd like to follow up with an executive session to further discuss this with Raul. So if that's the will of the council, just let's set up a date and let's begin diving into this a little bit deeper and discussing it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and indulge me for a moment as I logged into our meeting while this discussion was happening. I believe that what Councilmember Collazo was referring to was some of the emails, some of the communications from Mr. Derek Cintron with FDOT, and some of those emails that I received and that I've read, they have kind of like a possibilities to them, right? Where there wasn't a definite no that was given to Mr. Cintron. And I don't think that was the direction that we were put in originally when we had the conversations of the possibilities of on-ramps onto the highway and things of that nature. So I totally understand that this conversation can be had in a different setting. And I'm in favor of doing so, but I think that Councilman Collazo is on the right thought process because we are definitely not in the place that we were a while back. So this is something that I would love to explore. Thank you.
I'm fine with it. I think we got to explore everything. I was in that hearing. I have my own thoughts on that, and I will share them at an executive session, not now. One big difference with the zip code is I was able to work on that with Mara Diaz-Balart and myself, and we were kind of able to outthink the Postal Service, get it out of the U.S. House. This one, where there's 1,000 opinions, 1,000 ways to do it. So I just want to meet and strategize it, to be honest with you, in an executive session. So that I don't feel too comfortable giving staff direction because they don't know. You know, I don't want them to make a misstep and start inviting people or reaching out to people. I really want to strategize this as soon as possible because I have a lot of ideas and I just don't want to mention them right now, like the attorney said and like Councilman Dieguez had mentioned earlier on. I have some thoughts I would love to share right now, but I am in line with them that I do not want to share that, but I want to share with you all and kind of work it out and flush it out. I think that's the best way to collaborate, work together, and see how we can get this done. So I'm fine either way, but I'm whichever direction you guys want to go. But I want to strategize this immediately. I don't want to give staff who might not know how to do this properly that direction.
Thank you. Thank you all for your feedback. I'm not going to pull the item. I do want to move forward with the vote because, again, I think I've been very clear. This is not something that it's not something that I'm asking to do in lieu of. It is part of an overall strategy, which is going to be discussed. But at the same time, I want to make sure that the residents understand that we are listening and that we're willing to explore all of these possibilities, right? They don't have that opportunity in executive session. They don't have the opportunity to understand what our thought process is. So I'm also a big believer in transparency, just like a lot of us are. And I want them to understand that this is one cog in a wheel that may have a bunch of different cogs to address this issue. One is the legal strategy, which greater legal minds need to discuss. But at the same time, I think this is something that we can work up in tandem now. Are we giving them clear, concise direction? No, that maybe that comes at a later date. But I definitely want everybody to know that this is something that's on the table and something that we're willing to explore, and I'm willing to continue to make that push. And I'll be in lockstep with you, Mayor, if there's any way or any will there to move on this issue forward with meetings. One of the first meetings that I did as an elected official was to call for a sunshine meeting with a commissioner on the other side to explore this possibility. And that was one of the first things that I did. So I think when we're trying to work together and trying to communicate, and it's moving the ball forward, and I just want to show that willingness to the public that's asking that of us right now. So thank you all for your feedback.
Hey, can you repeat the motion, Councilman Collazo, please, just so make sure that I have it correct?
The motion was simple, that while we pursue the legal strategy and explore the opportunity to meet in executive session, that we also explore the opportunity to meet with the elected officials that have all relayed an interest in working on this issue, including the federal and state agencies that have jurisdiction, to explore all the possibilities in relation to 170, whether that's working at the same time as a legal process or strategically it's going to be deployed at a later time. I'm not giving any specific direction on that. It's just to make sure that that's part of the process that we're moving forward with.
And before we close, just to be transparent with the public, it's not that we have not been working on this. Literally, when the new council members in Hialeah got elected, I've met with them. I actually we've driven together through the bridge individually, talked about it. I've met with the commissioner. I've met with our new commissioner that's coming in. So I do want to say those discussions have been ongoing, and we'll continue taking them to the next level. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
The motion from Council Member Collazo, which was seconded by Council Member Ruano. Council Member Collazo.
Yes.
Council Member Ruano.
Yes.
Council Member Rodriguez.
No.
Council Member Dieguez.
Yes.
Council Member Alvarez.
No.
Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
I'm going to support it because I think all options are important. But I think we need to make sure that whatever is discussed with our with the next the folks we're going to discuss it with goes through our attorney as well. Maybe we have Lorenzo there, but yes.
Mayor Sid.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Attorney, is there anything else in your report?
Yeah, just to get the other ones out of the way. I circulated today in the Valiente case that we filed the motion for summary judgment on a bunch of issues. I still think I got to give you some attachments. I just noticed that, but I'll put an entire packet together and give you those. You know, the insurance carrier and their counsel are trying to get that case done and over with as it should be long ago. And then in the Pizzi matter, where I think most of you know what's going on there. We've been having some discussions, and we're going to continue to have some discussions, and we're just having discussions, let's just say, moving forward, and that has not changed. And I believe that's all I have for my report. So at the end of the night, you're done with me.
Thank you, Raul.
I'm usually last.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. We're moving on to committee appointments. We have Geminis Garcia to the Veterans Committee by Council Member Carlos O. Alvarez and Rafael de la Vega to the Blasting Committee by Councilman O. Alvarez.
A motion.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Is Geminis or Rafael on the Zoom tonight? If you are, just unmute yourself because we want to go ahead and thank you and welcome you to the team, and really thank you for giving your hours, your time to make our community better. It means a lot. We wouldn't be what we do today. It wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for great volunteers like you all. So thank you very much. And if you're there, you know, just unmute yourself and go ahead and say a few words.
Good evening, Mary. How are you? This is Rafael de la Vega. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity of being part of this committee, and I'll definitely look forward to working with all of you. Hey guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really surprised to see. I'm really happy to see some familiar faces with Lorenzo and Jeffrey. So look forward to working with you guys, and obviously the mayor. Thank you, guys.
Rafael, take care.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to committee reports. There's none. We're on to the consent calendar. We have pulled 2 items, 9B and 9D. 9B is Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the only reason why I pulled this item is that I figured that, and now that it's good to have my colleague, Councilwoman Verano, here with us, I think she would be very proud that we are taking a moment just to kind of highlight this project and how, you know, we're moving things along with respect to it. These residents have been greatly affected and impacted by flooding. And so it's good to see some progress on, you know, continuing with respect to that particular street. I took Mr. Fabricio by there actually this past Saturday and explained the issue to him that we're going, and mentioned that project as something that perhaps the state can help us out with, you know, when he gets elected, hopefully. But with that said, it was just simply to draw attention to it and to thank Councilwoman Verano, who was the first person to meet with the residents and raise this issue. While I was on the council, at least. And so with that, I move that we approve it.
I'll second.
Second, Councilman Verano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Dieguez. This was a project that both Councilmember Dieguez and I have seen in person. I saw it in photographs originally, but when we visited the street on a flooded day, we were in awe of the devastation that those residents are going through every time that there's a heavy rain. So I'm very excited to be moving forward with it. I will approve it wholeheartedly, and hopefully we can get groundbreaking on there very soon.
Thank you, Councilman Ruano. Hey, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, I spoke in support of this item when it first came up at the last budget hearing. That we decided to use the contingency funds that we had to approve a project that, in my opinion, was long overdue, and the residents were in desperate need of relief. So I think whatever we can do to move this along as quick as possible, I'm in full support.
Councilman Collazo.
I don't have much further to add other than I did see that, or at least what came up during discussion during my briefing was that there is the possibility of outfalls connecting to bodies of water, which may actually mitigate this issue much better. But we'll wait to see what the solution is after the design services. But I remember that was one of your key interests, Mr. Mayor, that somehow that there would be a connection to an outfall. And I believe staff worked diligently to secure terms to that effect. So want to congratulate them for responding and reacting and making this a priority. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Collazo. Councilman Rodriguez. Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
I think it's a great item, and I think it's a great idea to pull the contingency fees monies. It just shows what great work this council has put together in the last couple of years. I will highlight that unfortunately our current state rep did not put any appropriations in for this project. So hopefully, if Mr. Fabricio wins, and maybe with the new Speaker of the House, we can get something done in Tallahassee. But it's a shame that the appropriations weren't put in by the current rep. And so Mr. Fabricio has an uphill battle, but wish him luck, and hopefully he'll win and we'll be able to get something done up there.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just happy that that my colleagues brought this forth and were able to provide some relief to those residents, especially with the challenges that we have before us with projects at the state level because of COVID and not knowing what that may look like this upcoming legislative session. So, great idea to just move around some monies to maximize our investment in our town and our investment really on those residents and their quality of life. Good job, y'all.
Yeah, before we vote, I just wanted to thank staff for like Councilman Collazo said, for ensuring that the option of the outfall was in play. I think it's so important. The vast majority of our town is connected to an outfall. We're doing it right now. We're doing a $2 million project in West Lakes to connect all the roads to an outfall because we know how important it is. The capacity of our drains has diminished. Call it whatever you want to call it, but our water table has risen, so it's impacted the capacity of all of our drains. So without an outfall, the water has nowhere to go, and that's just a fact. So thank you to staff for really working on that, and I think our residents see that these are their hard-earned dollars going to make a difference in people's homes, and that's something that this council is really focused on. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dieguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruano.
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Yes.
Councilmember Collazo.
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Sid.
Yes.
The motion passes. Item 9B.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're on to item 9D. Well, I pulled this item just to more than anything really showcase this item. I'm really excited. I really got to give kudos to Mr. Mike Mess, our building official, making sure that this is in place. We want to make sure that our customers are taken care of. And when I had this discussion with the town manager, our deputy manager, I know our attorney was there, I got even more excited because one thing that was important to me was to see these types of technologies being implemented. I'll give you an example. One thing that's a pet peeve of mine and a lot of our residents and people that invest here, when an inspector puts on their tab, to be determined. So people don't know when the inspector is going to show up to their house. So they have to be at their house from like 7 a.m. to like 11 or noon, where simply all that inspector has to do is input the time. And I heard great things that staff told me that is going to be implemented very, very soon, where every single inspector, instead of putting to be determined, right? That is not good customer service. They are going to put the actual time that they're going to people's homes, which saves people time, saves money. So really kudos to our building official for implementing not only the visitor management software, but these types of solutions that help our customers, which are residents, which are people investing here, going forward. So I just wanted to point that out because kudos to staff again for getting that done. I know that was a pet peeve of mine, making sure this system was in place, but more importantly, little things like that inspectors should not be putting TBD on all their inspections every day. And I heard today, hey, that's changing. People are going to know, so they can save time, they can save money, and customer service in our building department is really doing great things. So thank you very much to our building official for going above and beyond, and for all of our staff for working on these types of things that make people's life easier and their experience with the town a lot better. With that said, I want to make a motion to approve item 9D.
I'll second that.
Anybody wanted to discuss it, you could chime in. If not, we're going to take a vote.
The only thing, Mayor, that I mentioned during my manager's briefing was that visitor software solution not just be for the building department. I think that there's ways that you can make this compatible for people visiting town hall in general. I've seen many different visitor management software and kiosk types of devices set up in senior housing, and they're excellent tools for not just the visitation management part, but also as a follow-up tool, because individuals can insert their email and information, and people get follow-up messages, follow-up phone calls based on whatever item they were coming here to town hall for. So what I did share with the managers, whatever solution they look at, if they can also make sure that there's a possibility to also look at implementing that possibly as a solution that can impact all departments and help us just better customer service in general, not just in the building department, but throughout town hall. So that was my only feedback to him. And I think it's something that he embraced and said that was something absolutely they could do. So thank you for pulling the item, and thank you for letting me chime in on it.
Thank you, Councilman Collazo. Anybody else from the council that wants to speak on this item? If not, I'm just going to go ahead and call a vote on it. All right. Thank you, Council. Madam, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to the consent calendar as approved with these two items. Any motions on the consent calendar?
I'll move the consent calendar to approve it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the consent calendar has been adopted and it passes. We're on to 10A, ordinances in first reading. Mr. Attorney.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Miami Lakes, Florida, relating to permitted materials for townhouse, single-family and two-family canopies and accessory buildings, amending Chapter 13 Land Development Code at Article 1 in general at Section 13-1, definitions and references, and at Article 4 zoning district regulations, Division 3 RUTH Townhouse District at Section 13-442, definitions at Article 5 allowable encroachments into the required yards and exceptions to the maximum permitted heights at Section 13-1502, accessory buildings, and at Section 13-1506, canopies, permitting aluminum and synthetic materials in a style that resembles wood construction, providing for repeal of laws in conflict, providing for severability, providing for inclusion into the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Is Councilman Rodriguez or the manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to add other than to thank staff and Susana and the Planning and Zoning Department for working, and the Deputy Town Attorney for putting this together. They did a great job. Looking forward to getting it approved.
Manager?
Mayor, I just want to say thank you, Councilman Rodriguez, for putting this together. This is something that I plan to use with my time off now, as we start remodeling our home that is full of mold, as we discovered in the last couple of weeks. But this is a long coming issue, and I hope that my successor votes for it, because I think it'd be something great for this town to. Especially when you see the one on 87th Avenue, just as you go over the bridge there into Hialeah, it's wood, it's rotting, it's falling apart, and it's becoming a dangerous situation. And it's a really nice pergola, but you know, wood is rotting out after certain years. So this is a great item. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. So I'll move to pass item 10A.
There's a motion.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Collazo,
Nothing. No, I'm in favor.
Councilman Dieguez,
No further comments.
the Vice Mayor spoke. Councilman Alvarez,
No further comments, Mayor.
Councilwoman Ruano,
I have nothing to add, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll on item 10A.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Dieguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Collazo,
Yes.
Councilmember Ruano,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Sid.
Yes.
Ordinance in first reading, item 10A passes.
Mayor, just one thing. I'd like to also, I forgot to thank the resident that put together that video for us. Fantastic and very informative video that we gave at the presentation. So thank you.
You mean the chairman?
Yes, Rudy Laredo.
Rodolfo Llorero. He did a great job. Great job. Now we're on to ordinances in second reading. There are none. We're moving on to resolutions. Item 12A, Mr. Attorney.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Miami-Dade, Florida, opposing Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners' proposed ordinances, reducing notice to municipalities and requiring matters affecting the Comprehensive Development Master Plan and zoning to be heard concurrently, providing for instruction to the town clerk and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, this resolution, what it does on October 6th, the Board of County Commissioners approved two ordinances in first reading. And the first ordinance dealt with CDMP and zoning applications. In essence, what the ordinance said was they wanted to combine those hearings and have them concurrent. What that does, it reduces the number and opportunities for the public to speak on those ordinances from 4 to 2. The second ordinance that they passed that day removed certain notice guidelines, reduced the amount of time whereby they have to notify the local government. And what this resolution does is you as a body, as a council, speak in opposition to those two ordinances. And that's what's before you. That's the question that's before you, is speaking opposition to these two ordinances by Miami-Dade County. And I want to salute our town planner, Susana Alonso, who brought these both to my attention, and she's monitoring activity at the county. And I want to congratulate and thank her for bringing this and preparing these resolutions for your consideration today.
Is there any motions, Council?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Rodriguez.
Nothing further to add, Mayor. I'm in favor.
Councilman Collazo.
Thank you, Susanna. Nothing further to add. I'm in favor.
Councilman Dieguez.
Nothing further to add.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Susanna. Nothing to add, Mayor.
Councilman Alvarez.
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Councilman Ruano.
Nothing further. Just thank you, Mrs. Alonso.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to new business items. We'll go to the first one, which is item 13A. Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item, I've mentioned it before that it was going to be coming forward. The gist of it is that I think we need to start setting up an emergency procedures ordinance, which we do not have. The town manager, for the residents who are watching, I just want to be clear that does not mean that the manager and other town officials have been acting without legal authority throughout the pandemic or in years past, simply that they have been using particular statutes to sort of bridge the gap. However, I think it's time that we adopt an ordinance that would go ahead and set forward some procedures that would give the council more input with respect to some of those decisions. Not even so much to necessarily act as a check against our power, although in some instances that may occur, but also just to give the council greater voice and input into that decision-making process. And what I'm envisioning is something similar to what Miami Beach has, which provides for a couple of things, both not only a vote of the council to basically extend any state of emergency past 3 days or 72 consecutive hours to be exact, but also would require publication notices or publication of notices of a declaration of emergency, and also codify the right of the council to get information with respect to such emergency declarations. So as far as the details, Lorenzo's going to be working that out. He and I have had preliminary discussions, regarding the different procedures of other cities, but I look forward to what he has to bring with respect to that moving forward. With that, that is the motion to direct the town staff to come back to us with an emergency procedures ordinance.
Second.
Councilman Ruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that this is very much needed. Sometimes we don't realize the things that we have in place or the need that we may have for certain ordinances until they occur, right? So something like COVID had never happened before. We've always been under emergencies for storms, hurricanes, and those are always short-term things. But for the first time, we've lived this long, drawn-out emergency order that, at least to me, that hasn't made a lot of sense at a lot of times. So I'm very happy that Councilmember Dieguez is bringing this forward. I think that we really need to visit this, and I look forward to seeing what our deputy town attorney puts together for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ruano. Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Josh, for bringing this forward. Again, a step in the right direction to continue improving ourselves as a town and as a council as well. So kudos to you for bringing this forward. And obviously I second it, so I'll be supporting it.
Vice Mayor.
No, it's a good item, Josh, and thank you again for bringing it forward. I think that it's always good to have checks and balances on ourselves sometimes, and I think this is one of those items that'll help with that.
Councilman Coelho.
Nothing further to add. I'll be supporting the item. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Nothing further, Mayor. I'll be supporting the item as well.
I'm fine with the item. I mean, just one of the things I talked to staff about was to make sure that if this were to move forward, that the time to review some of the changes, not after 7 days, it should be at the next scheduled, normal scheduled council meeting, because you could only imagine every single change to emergency orders having one of these discussions after 7 days, especially now with COVID. So, I mean, those are just some of my feedback. I do want to say this. I do think the system now has worked in the town. It's fine to review it. It's fine to look at a different scenario, but I do believe that it's worked during Hurricane Irma. The two emergencies I've been here for are emergency procedures, emergency processes here in the town have been fine, and they've worked. So but it's always good to review them and go down a path of seeing if they can become better. So I did want to say that. Madam Clerk, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to the next item, which is Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, I wanted to discuss with my colleagues, moving forward, I'm gonna have a major conflict with the council meeting dates. Right now being kind of the third, usually it fluctuates the third week of the month, sometimes the second. As we prepare to open some additional campuses, I sit on some additional boards that I have to support those schools, and I would really prefer to make myself available face to face with you all, instead of running the risk of, or not running the risk, but having to come in remotely the majority of the time. So I had asked Ed to provide a recommendation to my colleagues of if what week would be better would be the first or the second week for them. So I'll pass it to him, and that's basically what my discussion is, and we can elaborate a little bit more after Ed talks, but it's kind of to shift gears a little bit and move council meetings to either the first or second week of the month, starting in January.
Thank you, Councilman Alvarez. Is there a second to?
Yes, I'll second the item for discussion.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, there's no perfect month, because the one thing that I like to look for is the frequency of holidays, early in the month, middle of the month, late in the month. But if I had to pick, there are, this past year, we went through some holidays that were, that affected our, somewhat affected our council meetings, which were, they were the third of the month, President's Day and Martin Luther King. But if you had to look at the beginning of the month, I think they are bigger holidays, like New Year's and Independence Day. So if I had to pick, I would recommend that we go with the second week of the month, where we're going to run into potential conflicts with Columbus Day and Veterans Day. But I believe that those are not recognized by as many people as the New Year's and Independence Day. So my recommendation would be to look at the second Tuesday of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilman Rodriguez.
I would agree with the manager. I think the second week of the month is better.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. Councilman Coelho.
I'm fine with any day you guys pick.
Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be supporting the item, but I did want to point out that that I think we should keep it at the second Tuesday moving forward. The date has frequently bounced around, and I think that doesn't always do us a favor in the sense of our own planning purposes and also for the residents that may want to participate. It can get a little bit confusing sometimes if the date bounces around too much. And I know in the past it's been moved, but I just would ask my colleagues that moving forward that we just pick a date and we try and stick with it. Because I know we had moved some dates around. This might even be the third time that I think we're changing it since I've been on the dais, but at any rate, I'll be supporting it. Obviously, my colleague, Councilman Hernandez, Alvarez, pardon me, has a right to go ahead and earn a living, and we're very proud of the work that he does in the education field. He does an excellent job there. His passion for that shows every time he speaks on the topic. But just for the residents' sake, I think we need to really try and pick a date on a regular basis that works, that the residents can count on to go ahead and tune in, and there will be their council debating the issues, so that they're not just guessing, oh, when did it change or anything like that. So, but I'll be supporting the item tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Dieguez. Vice Mayor.
Any day you want to do the council meeting, I'm happy to be there. Oh, but I won't. But no, I agree with Councilman Dieguez. Bringing it back to the second Tuesday, Councilman Dieguez, we'll bring it back to the original Tuesday designated by the town, the original town council many years ago. And I believe this is the third time. But yeah, I think the second Tuesday kind of works out for everybody better anyway. And if it facilitates Councilman Alvarez's employment, I think that it's important because I can tell you of 8 years of doing this, you do lose a lot of employment opportunities and money when you have to pick or choose. So I'm happy to support Councilman Alvarez's request.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Ruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Dieguez, I think, summed up the idea that I had, which is that we need to pick a date and we need to stick to it. I have conflicts quite often whenever our meeting falls on the 15th of the month. Actually, this last month, I was filing my very last tax returns and attending a council meeting via Zoom at the same time. So I try not to inconvenience anyone. I make myself available whatever day of the week it is that we choose. I will have a conflict in the month of April with this particular schedule change, but I will make myself available. But I would like to try to keep it this way because the residents do get very confused and they don't always look at our Facebook or our website to figure out what day of the week our meeting is. They just kind of get used to a rhythm and tune in on that date. So if the second week is the one that we're going to choose, then I think that we should stick with it and not continue to bounce back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruano. And I agree. I mean, this has been changed way too many times. I remember it got changed to the first Tuesday, then it got changed to the third Tuesday. I'm 100% going to vote for this because Councilman Alvarez is being very transparent that he won't be able to attend and it'll be very difficult. So, I want to I'm a team player and I think we're all part of a team, and that opportunity, we all got elected specifically to attend 11 council meetings a year. So we want to make sure that happens. But I would like to make an amendment to his motion and put some sort of restrictive language saying that, you at least need a super majority of council members to move this again or something to that effect, because it's changed way too many times. So I am going to make an amendment to the motion saying that you need a super majority of council members to change the date in the future.
I will second that.
Any discussion on the amendment? If you do, just jump right in. If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're back on to the motion as amended. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to the next item, which is my item, item 13C. So I wanted to bring this up because in discussion with town staff, I deal with a lot of constituent cases on a regular basis. When I ask town staff, I go, percentage-wise, what, just me alone, my office alone, what does that represent in constituent cases that come in? And they told me between 80 to 85% of all constituent cases go through me, and some of the rest, about another 10% goes to Councilman Collazo, maybe another 5 to Councilman Dieguez, and the rest between the rest of the council members. So one of the toughest things for me is that I get residents that call me. I mean, just today I got 5-6 calls on my cell. Joseph at the office gets calls nonstop. And a lot of residents always say, "Hey, Mayor, I'm having this issue. Hey, talk to the council members." Hey, obviously, I can't do the sunshine. I can't just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, look, this is going on in this neighborhood. Oh, this is happening. There's potholes here. This is happening there." If not, I'd be putting new business items every time. So I work obviously with staff, but I want to be transparent. And I think, we all should have the same tools of getting to see the data of what's coming in, right? So if I'm seeing, hey, I'm getting 20 requests for sidewalk repairs, tree trimming, tree planting, potholes, police, you name it. I mean, we get everything. And like, for example, this week I've worked on several, in the last 2 weeks, I've worked on several, the dog feces, baggy, the stations, those little stations. I've worked on like 3 or 4 of them in the last several weeks. I don't know if you guys have, but I know I've had residents call me and but I think to be transparent, I think you guys need to see what I'm seeing and what a lot of us see. So I simply just want the town manager to do a monthly report, not getting too deep into it, like who the residents are or anything like that, but just saying, hey, this month alone, we worked on, 50 constituent cases, 20 were sidewalks, 10 were this, 20 were that. And I think that's, being a team, I think it's important for us to see all those things all the time. And I think on a monthly basis, I think it's just a good practice. So my motion is simply going to be to direct the manager that on a monthly basis, just provide a report, like a constituent report to the council, just detailing the 30,000 foot level of constituent cases and that data.
I'll second the motion.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a fantastic item. I know we can track these items a lot of times on our app. We can see, and I've sat down with staff to go over the number of issues that are being requested by residents, but I think it'd be great if we can put that front and center before everybody, the council and the residents included, on a monthly basis. So I'll be supporting the item.
Councilman Collazo.
I have nothing to add. I'll be supporting the item.
Councilman Dieguez.
Nothing further to add.
Councilman Alvarez.
Great item, Mayor. Fully supporting.
Councilwoman Ruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Where will the data be coming from to generate this report? Is it going to be from the app, or is it going to be from emails that you receive, or how will the data be compiled?
Yeah, we'll develop a spreadsheet. Most of the information will come from the app, but we also get inquiries via email. Sometimes we get them via app. Sometimes we get them via all of the 7 of you. So what we're trying to do to centralize and have a central repository for this information is, even if we get it via a phone call or an email or a text from one of the council members, we're trying to be diligent about importing it. Even if it's a staff member importing it, we're trying to make sure that we import it into the app so that it'll facilitate the extraction of information.
Okay, and will this information have resident information, addresses, or contact information?
Well, what the mayor's stated, he doesn't want specific information, but we'll probably, I haven't looked at how specific the information. I don't want to put names. I don't know if that's necessary.
Well, is it a public record though? I mean, is it since we're going to be generating these reports, right? So if we're going to be generating these reports and say one of us, let's say that I want to contact someone who reported, for instance, a flooding problem, and I'd like to go visit them and see what's happening. Would I be able to do that?
Yeah, of course. Anybody, the 7 of you will need to tell me how much information you want in there. I'm happy to put, the information is all a public record. What we put into this report will be dictated by the 7 of you. So if you tell me to put names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, we'll put whatever in there, because all of that, sometimes people report issues, and in the app, they have the option to do it anonymously. So in those cases, we won't have contact info. But if you want us to put in names, addresses, phone numbers, and any other contact information that we have, we'll be more than happy to do it, because it is, those who provide it, it is a public record. So if you give us that direction, we'll follow whatever guidance you give us, or whatever direction you give us.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to see something like that, so that we can reach out. I mean, if we're gonna put this report together, I know that most of the phone calls go through the mayor's office. The mayor has more staff than we do. And I know that a lot of the phone calls are generated through there, and a lot of the residents, when they reach out to me, a lot of them usually have already reached out to the mayor's office. So if we're going to be putting something like this together, maybe we can all cooperate in reaching out to residents and trying to help them with their concerns. I know that we can all generate the information on the app, or we can ask you for that and we can track it. I sometimes receive information myself when something's in my area. But if it's going to be outside of that spectrum and we're going to be having access to more data, then that would be great if we can have contact information so that we can, assist in any way that we can.
I personally don't. If there is specific issues you guys want, I would be fine with it. I personally, what's happened in the past, we've seen this type of data get abused, and then people start receiving phone calls or emails that are unsolicited. And that's the one thing I know that residents are always scared of. I get calls all the time. I get emails all the time where people are like, look, I prefer to be anonymous. I tell them, hey, it's a public record, so if somebody pulls it. But I can tell you the vast majority of people that call me do not want to be called or solicited. Their staff is an issue. So it's happened before in this town where people have submitted their emails and their emails became public record, then their emails got bombarded. I prefer for it to be just a regular spreadsheet. And if you guys see an issue, you could dig deeper and say, hey, if there's an issue in the street with flooding, give me all the information for all the residents that called. But I wouldn't put it out there just like that on a spreadsheet. So, and I can tell you,
no, I'm aware of the issues that have happened in the past. I don't think that this current council would go in that direction. I just don't want to receive a spreadsheet with a bunch of anonymous I guess reports of things that we can't access or verify or contact. It doesn't seem like it would be helpful.
For decision-making purposes, I think it'll be very helpful. Like I said, I'm fortunate. I do not have more staff. I mean, I have one person that works for the manager, but helps me out. But I do receive constant calls, and I talk to staff. 85% of them, 85% of constituent calls go through my office. What I don't want to happen to those residents, a lot of them call me or call whoever. I don't want them receiving unsolicited phone calls or visits from people unless they want it, and that's my biggest fear. Obviously I trust this council, but I don't think that information should be made that accessible. I mean, these are private individuals that are reaching out to people for a reason. I mean, I know Councilman Collazo has when I talked to staff, they said about 10% of all the cases go through him. I would not call or ask for the information of the people that called because I know that they wouldn't appreciate it, So I can tell you most residents are very afraid of giving their information, and they do so because they trust us. And I just don't think that. I think the best information for us is the data that we would see how many of these cases, what's going on. If you guys want to dig deeper and talk to the manager, but I would prefer to just, if people's information are going to be given to everybody, who knows where it's going to go from there. I would rather just remove the item. I mean, to protect people.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that it would be a big deal. I've spoken to many residents in the past. They've never had an issue with the council knowing what's happening. Most of the phone calls that we get actually generate new business items or generate a conversation among us. So it's never really been something that I've kept from anyone. If you don't want to add that information to the list, I'm okay with that as well. I just thought that it would be more helpful to me to I guess to verify some of the information, or to not just have, generic line items with, 25 calls about flooding or 10 calls about potholes. It just seems like it would be more useful if it had more information on it. That being said, it's your item, and I will support it whichever way you would like to present it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Collazo.
The way that I understand the item, and again, going to Councilwoman Morano's, I guess, opportunity to engage with the residents if there's an issue that needs some additional follow-up. My understanding is you want a 30,000 foot view of the issue. but we can take the manager's report and we can drill into it, correct? So if Councilwoman Morano wanted to say, hey, look, I want to address this particular issue, I want to reach out to the residents to get a better insight of, what the extent of flooding in this area, the information could be provided to Councilwoman Morano, correct?
Of course, it's a public record. What I don't want to happen is that it becomes a huge depository of information that somebody can pick up and without the authorization of that resident, obviously it's a public record, they start receiving phone calls or that list gets into somebody's hands and they start calling people or something. And I get a lot of, I'm telling you, I get a lot of residents that call me directly because they trust me, they trust the process, and I think they lose a little bit of faith in the process if they start receiving phone calls that they're like, how did you get my number? And that's the only thing. I just want to protect people. I mean, I want the 30,000 foot level discussion to happen, but I would rather pull the item, to be honest with you, just to protect the identities, although it's public record, but I would not want to create what happened before, that there was this big email list that people trusted the town and it started getting passed around.
The way that you're presenting the item, it basically means that we can just go into the website and pull it. We can see the item. We can see that data right now, right? We can go to the app and pull that and see, how many issues have been generated, how many requests for services have been called for that. I guess the only difference is like what Marilyn suggested was if she wants to drill into it, she can through the manager's report, or maybe it has an opportunity to take action on it as it's being presented on the dais, right? That's the benefit that I saw of your item, which is basically it's going to be an actionable item if it comes up on a manager's report. So if we have an instance where we have 20 residents complaining of a specific issue, flooding, we can take action at that moment in time. So to me, it's more of less of an issue. It's if we identify a hotspot, we can trigger resources and take action almost immediately on the dais. I don't see it kind of how you're framing it, but I saw an advantage to it being in the manager's report. It's an actionable item. So
that I wholeheartedly agree, and that's the point. That for us to have that information, everybody have that information. What I don't want to happen is that after a resident calls me or calls you, and then staff calls them, and then the manager's office calls them, then they're getting calls from all 7 of us, and I think that unsolicited, I just don't, I wouldn't want a resident start getting unsolicited phone calls without their prior authorization, although it is a public record once they put it in an email. That's my thing.
That's what I'm saying, that it's, I guess we're getting lost. I don't want the item to get lost in the semantics of this. I think it's a good item. It's favorable. And I think Councilwoman Morano can accomplish, if she wants to do some type of outreach, if it's in the report, I guess she can get the data to do that,
May I add something?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe I didn't phrase my statement properly. I thought that we were going to include into this report not just emails and notifications on the app, but I thought that we were going to include in this report phone calls that went through your office. So, for example, a phone call that maybe you took on your cell phone, or a phone call that Joseph may have answered in the office. Was that the intent of the item, or did I misunderstand it?
So the intent of the item, and I'll restate it again, is for example, I'm going to give you guys a perfect example. I've worked on just a perfect example. In the last 2-3 weeks, I've worked on 3 or 4 requests from residents for the doggy bag stations around town. For some people, that might not seem like it's important.
Yes.
And maybe we don't have the money in the budget, but for a lot of residents, it's important. So I think showcasing that to the rest of the council, hey, there are residents requesting this, here are the spots. Maybe a council member says, hey, you know what, let's put, I'm getting, you know what, it might be a good idea to get one on this side of town or something. That was the main purpose of the report. Not to put, hey, this resident so-and-so requested a the doggy bag station at this location. That was not the purpose. The purpose was, hey, there's been 4 requests of that. What do you guys think? And you guys see it, staff's working on it. If it's possible, maybe there's no money, but now you guys know that people are requesting it, which I think is valuable data.
Right, and that's the only reason why I was asking for a little more information, because if it's just based on phone calls and stuff, then maybe we don't have a way to I guess to gather more information. I know that when we talk about these items, when we bring them up, we'll usually say I've spoken to several residents, I've spoken to some residents, and we kind of use that terminology. Quantifying it sometimes becomes a little bit difficult. So that's the only reason why I was trying to find a way to properly quantify it. I don't know if you log that, if you have a log of how many residents you talk to, or, I mean, I usually go based on the emails that I receive. I know that we did receive emails on those doggy bag stations. I'm sure that when we get emailed, we all get copies. Some residents email the mayor and the council. So we get to see some of those. But do you have a way to quantify those phone calls that you take on your cell phone?
Hey, I just got a good pulse of what's going on, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the amount of calls and stuff that we get. It's pretty easy to quantify it, and a lot of times I drive by the areas myself to see what's going on. So, and it's more of adding a performance measure into what the manager currently does and just reporting on it. But if not, I'll just pull the item. I thought it was more of an education, a good tool for the entire council to see that data.
I don't mind it at all, and I don't want it to get lost in this discussion. I just wanted it to be properly quantified. That's all, and that's why I was trying to designate it to people so that we could properly quantify how many phone calls about a certain item. But we can move forward with it. We'll try it out and see how it goes.
So I'll do this. I'm going to work deeper to quantify things, and I'm going to work with staff on performance measures, and I'm going to withdraw my item, and I'll work on this item. So thank you. We're on to item 13D. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And as most of you know, what's going on in the country, there seems to be a lot of religious persecution going on with whether it's an attack on a Jewish temple, or in the last couple of weeks, there's been an attack on Christian and Catholic faith institutions, and there's been some damage to all kinds of religious buildings, and so I think that League of Cities sent this sample resolution. I know Lorenzo was working on one, and he had some difficulties with his computer today, but I'd like to pass a resolution in support of, number one, the anti-Semitism resolution, supporting our Jewish community, making sure that we support them. One thing I can tell you about our council meetings, for those that haven't attended in a long time, and is that we really diversify our opening prayer with religious institutions. And so we always have somebody from a different denomination and a different religious church at our council meetings. And I think that alone shows the diversity of Miami Lakes and how we deal with religious unity. So the resolution is basically to have, the motion is to have two resolutions. One in support of the anti-Semitism and anti-harassment for the one the League of Cities sent Lorenzo, and one for Christian institutions supporting any anti-discrimination or of both, and any damage to their facilities. That's it, Mayor.
I'll second the item.
I'll second.
There's a second. There's a motion and a second. Councilman Peruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can support the item.
Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be supporting the item.
Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really briefly, one of the most overlooked aspects of discrimination, I feel, sometimes in this country, is religious discrimination. I think, that sometimes, especially since most of us come from strong faith backgrounds and have grown up in environments where that's been accepted, to respect other people's faith, regardless of what it may be. I think we sometimes take it for granted that this does continue. There are unfortunately those out there who are anti-Semitic, who are even Islamophobic. Those who persecute others that believe different than they do. So I want to thank the Vice Mayor for bringing this forward. I think it's an important resolution and worth passing. So thank you.
Before you go on, Mayor, thank you, Councilman Dieguez, for pointing that out. I did miss anybody that I guess Lorenzo can include it. Please, Lorenzo, all other religions, not just the Christian faith. So we'll do one for the Jewish community and one for all other religions, because we are a diversified community, and we may have Muslims and we may have people of other religions. So I want to make sure that that we're all inclusive, and we make sure that we cover all that. So thank you, Councilman Dieguez. If you mind, Mayor, I'd like to amend the motion, and whoever seconded can second him again.
I'll second the amendment.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. And now we're on Councilman Collazo.
I have nothing to add. I'll be in support.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Nothing to add, Mayor. I'll be supporting the item.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to the next item, Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, the infrastructure fund is not, or rather, the maintenance sinking fund is not my item. So I am recognizing that from the start, and therefore stating that I would love to get Councilman Collazo's input on what I'm proposing, since he ultimately was the one that really pushed for this. So with that said, the intent of the item recognizes that there may come a point where after a certain amount of time, we may have more than what we need in order to cover routine needs, with respect to maintenance and replacement of certain facilities of the town, and other infrastructure that we maintain. So with that in mind, there, of course, could come a point where we then now have, start developing a glut of funds that could be utilized for other projects. So the idea behind it was to give the town administration direction to kind of figure out what they feel would be a good number for us to build to. And then from that point on, it put money after that amount that they believe would best serve the needs of the community to go ahead and put it towards some other capital project, such as the Miami Lakes Optimus Park program. Now, obviously, we've all at this juncture recognized that the park does need some kind of improvements. We've all recognized that the Optimus Sinking Fund has been, swept in terms of funds. I believe at the start of my term, we had almost $1 million saved for improvements. I think we're well below that now. So, I'm just trying to find other solutions as to how to eventually take care of that need that is coming down the pipe, while also respecting the purpose of the sinking fund, which is to do the same for other needs around town. So with that, that is the direction I would like to give staff, again, to have them kind of perform an analysis and determine what they feel will be an adequate number to have in that sinking fund, that once it reaches that amount, then additional money would be moved toward other capital improvement programs.
I'm going to second the item, and I appreciate the councilman giving me credit for it, but I do have some additional things I want to add for the discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Collazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Dieguez, for bringing this up. It is an item that I worked extensively on. It's basically an item that, when it came forward, it was modeled after some of the things that we were doing in our condominium association, which was creating reserves or creating a cash balance to address need over time. It's not an item that's very sexy, right? It's not something that you go out and I guess bring deliverables and say, look what we brought you. It's really maintaining what we currently have. So the way that the project was designed, or the way that the fund was designed, it took into consideration all of our assets and took into consideration the lifespan of each of these assets over time, and figured out a replacement cost. What you're trying to do is basically see, is there an amount, or is there a reserve amount that you get to and say, okay, it satisfies our need. The problem is that not all the assets and not all the assets that are in that account basically depreciate the same over time. So it's a constantly moving number. What I did appreciate about your item was the direction, giving staff the opportunity to go back and revisit and maybe see tweaks. Does it need to be adjusted? Does it need to be modified? During my discussion with the manager, one of the things that he was able to send me was the initial cost to several of those items. Some of them are actually past due or over. They've exceeded their life expectancy, and they're already projects that are due. So I think it's an opportunity for Carlos and our Public Works Department to work with Ismael and see, are we currently funding the fund appropriately? Is everything still a need that's in there? What I did not see was seal coating. There may be a reason for that, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that maybe that those types of projects can be taken out of different funds, but it's also another item that is a maintenance item that does wear out over time, something that should be considered. So I initially took issue with the item, in the sense that I didn't feel that the sinking fund was something that we should be looking to say, okay, once it reaches $500,000, let's start diverting money, because it's a greater need than that when you look at it over the length of time. But it is something that can be revisited to make sure that we're addressing all our needs, and if and when we ever get to a point where all our needs are being addressed, that we have a plan to where those funds should go. I don't necessarily have an issue with staff doing that analysis and coming back to us. So it's something that I can support, but I think we may find out that we may have a greater need. We may not. So giving staff the opportunity to revisit that and see where we're at over time, I just think is a healthy practice in general, and something that we should be doing every so often to make sure that we're balancing the checkbook, so to speak. So thank you for bringing it forward, Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Councilman. Have to keep back in mind, and seeing the input from my other colleagues by act of omission. I'm going to go ahead and kind of propose an amendment to, or rather amend my own item to focus rather on exactly what Councilman Collazo pointed out, which is to do an analysis, sort of as an update, to make sure that the amount being contributed is adequate for our needs. So that would be the amendment that I'm making to my own motion.
I'll support the amendment.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes. We're back onto the main motion as amended. Councilman Rodriguez.
I have nothing further to add, Mayor. I'm in agreement with Councilman Collazo.
Councilwoman Peruano.
Likewise, Mayor, I have nothing further to add.
Councilman Alvarez.
Nothing further to add, Mayor. Thank you.
Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor. Nothing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to the next item, Councilman Dieguez.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I got who made the amendment and who seconded, and I know that it was Councilmember Dieguez who made the motion. I don't have a second. Did I miss?
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Councilman Dieguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is simply being brought based on our conversations during our budget season, in which the manager and staff and some of my colleagues indicated that it may be beneficial for purposes of infrastructure investment to be a bit more flexible with the time frame in which the manager has to comply with the new 20% reserve requirement. So with that said, that is what this is, just directing the town manager to, or rather granting the town manager an additional year to go ahead and reach the 20% in emergency reserves. That is the motion.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Ruano. Councilwoman Ruano. Hey, Councilwoman Ruano, you're still there? Got it. Councilman Alvarez.
No further comment, Mayor. Thank you. I'll be supporting the item.
Councilman Corral.
I'll be supporting the item. No further comment. Thank you.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Likewise, nothing to add. I'll be supporting the item.
Vice Mayor.
I'm in support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. We're on to manager's report. Item 15A. Mr. Manager.
As all of you may know, the reason we've been able to conduct the virtual public meetings is because the governor of the state of Florida granted us that ability through executive order. He has been flirting with the idea of not extending it any further. In fact, in the month of September, he waited until the last day of the month before granting us the ability to conduct these virtual public meetings in the month of October. We suspect that at some point here soon, and we may very well see that day here at the end of October, where he will not extend that ability. With that in mind, we undertook the exercise of trying to come up with a logistical plan where we will be able to do live public meetings, but still abiding by the restrictions imposed to us by other executive orders at the state as well as the county level. What we did, I tasked our emergency manager, Jeremy Bajwan, with working with our legal department to make sure we're in compliance, as well as various department directors, to come up with a logistical plan that I emailed to all of you several days ago. And I just want Jeremy to walk you through logistically how this will work. And then my recommendation is, if you're in agreement, that we go back to live public meetings with the restrictions and abiding by the logistical plan that Jeremy lays out for you, starting with the month of November. So Jeremy, if you can please walk us through the plan that you put together.
Yes, thank you, Manager. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Jeremy Backdown, Special Projects Manager for the town. Essentially, what you have before you is a recommendation of a logistical plan and some protocols that allow for a safe and manageable return to our in-person meetings within a town facility. As the manager mentioned, this is planning and preparing for the possibility of not having that State Emergency Order 20-69 extended. That allows us to meet not in person for quorum at or an approved public space. This plan basically aims at delineating and producing a well-organized procedure to mitigate the risk associated with having us attend this meeting in person in a group with individuals from different households during the pandemic. So this plan essentially is going to call for the attendance of only town council and town staff for the duration of the meeting. However, affording the opportunity for the public and public commenters to come and participate once again for the public comment phase of the meeting. Once their public comment is over and the entire public comment is over, they'll be asked to then evacuate and leave the chambers and then move on out of the facility. So a public commenter will be afforded the opportunity to come in, sign up for public comments, enter the chambers one at a time, present, and then leave the chambers waiting for the next individual to come up and present. So with that, we'll be instituting a single directional flow of the chambers with some signage on the floors. Within the chambers, we'll also be socially distancing the chairs. With this, we would be having, and with social distancing, the chambers and the dais would actually have plexiglass dividers dividing space on the dais for the council members, and having the actual staff sit in the, I guess, audience of the chambers. So an individual would sign up via the town website. We would be instituting a web page where public comments can be registered. Still taking into consideration individuals that might show up day of, and town staff that are on hand will have to go ahead and appropriately include individuals that come, but affording them the opportunity to sign up, be placed in the queue, informed via text message and or email, however we decide moving forward, to be informed that they're up next or they're currently up. They'll be afforded the chance to enter the chambers, provide their public comment, and then leave. Once public comment has ended, and we have taken the last public comment, one item that I did list there for consideration is a 15 or 30-minute, depending on how we feel, recess to allow that last public commenter or commenters the opportunity to get back to their house, to continue resuming watching and taking part of the virtual meeting as it happens live. Some other factors considered is the use of hydroxyl air purifiers within the chambers, given the fact that we'll have more individuals within the chambers at one given time, and using disposable microphone covers, since we'll be having these speakers all one at a time using the same microphone. So taking additional coverage to make sure that we are sanitizing and that we are cleaning as we have these potential public commenters entering our facility, providing their comments and then leaving. Within that report, you also see that there are also some protocols that will be taking place with this new plan and with the new outlook of how we would be having our in-person meetings. Just to touch on some of them would be screening for individuals with high temperatures upon entry, going over and reiterating facial covering guidelines for the meeting, going over our sanitizing and cleaning procedures, and then understanding the floor layout and the foot traffic for the meeting. With that, I don't know if there are any comments or questions.
I do, Mayor, when the report's over.
Jeremy, is your report complete?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Collazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeremy, first of all, I want to tell you, you did a very, very good job. I was very impressed with the product that you put forward. I've gone through everything in the report, and you know, you've done an outstanding job of at least giving me a lot of comfort with the time and effort that you put into making sure that we were taking every step necessary to encourage, and not only that, but pull off a very safe council meeting. With one of the items that we moved forward in consent, that was going to be an instrument that was used for the building department. I talked about a kiosk that could be repurposed for registering people. This is another way that we can use that for the registration purposes for public comments. It could be a kiosk where you can actually go through all the requirements, you know, and attestations that people are aware they must wear a mask. I mean, those are things that can be worked out, but you did a great job. My only suggestion was, when I looked at the layout of the room, would be to include some additional tabletop workspaces for staff. A lot of them are using computers or laptops, be very uncomfortable to work from a seat. So if we can add to the equipment or items needed, at least for the staff that are going to be working in the seated position from the audience, at least some of those little tables where they can set up a laptop or maybe you know, run some additional electrical to make sure it's feeding everybody, you know, through silk extension cords. That would be the only addition to the staff. and seeing if we can get that visitor software to maybe help you out in the registration of people coming in. But again, kudos to you and great job for a very well laid out, thought out plan. So I feel comfortable with moving it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Collazo. Councilman Dieguez.
I don't have anything further to add other than to join Councilman Collazo in complimenting Jeremy on his excellent work. The presentation was well put together. Again, to the point where I really didn't have very much else to add because it was pretty detailed. So great job. I think this is an adequate plan. I'm excited to return back to the chambers. I'm sure Councilwoman Verano is too, as her and I think have been some of the more vocal people, basically almost begging to go back, to the council chambers. So with that said, excellent work. I think you've struck a balance between us getting back to some semblance of normalcy with respect to convening in council chambers in a responsible way, while also being able to give residents who prefer to appear in person the opportunity to petition their council. So great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dieguez. Vice Mayor.
No, Jeremy, you can tell that you took the time to go and do this properly, and we truly appreciate that. I think you can probably save a little time and ask Wells Fargo or one of the banks, maybe we can hold it there since they have already all the plexiglass and bulletproof glass and already in play. And we can save some money at the town at the same time. But yeah, unfortunately, this is today's environment of what we're looking at. I'm not a fan of the plexiglass between the council members, but I don't know if that's required by code or by ordinance. But getting back to normal in the chamber, I think, is very, very important. And I think it's a good way for the next council to start. Their first meeting is back in the chamber. So Jeremy, again, thank you for all the work. And Jeremy, not just on this, but on all the stuff that I know I sent the manager, and the manager and Tony refer to you. So you've really stepped up in your career here in Miami Lakes, and it's really great to see you move into this new role and take initiative and a great amount of responsibility on board and do a fantastic job. So I just want to tell you how grateful I am to see you move and do your job properly and be given the opportunity from within to lead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. So you see, there are some really great products coming out of charter schools, as Jeremy is a graduate from Matter. So we got some good stuff coming out of there. You know, we got good guys working at fish supply stores that help our elected officials and provide guidance as well. But you know, we got great.
Can I get the name of that fish supply place, please?
I got you. I got you for your retirement. I got you.
I'll defer to Councilman Collazo on that one, but you know, we got great products coming out of all our, out of choice schools, out of private parochial schools, out of public traditional schools, and Jeremy is a testament to that. So, as being his assistant principal back then, and hearing him now speak so eloquently and being so well prepared, makes very proud of him and all his endeavors and what lays ahead of him. So, looking forward to hopefully partner with him in the Mayor's Basketball Classic and hopefully beat Doral this time around. So keep them knees warm, Jeremy. We need you.
Thank you, Councilman Alvarez. I look forward.
Hey, do I get to play as a retired former elected official? I think I get to play. I'm finally in shape. I finally lost all the weight. Then we get COVID and I can't play. I hope I'm included into the team for next year.
We got you.
We're just gonna send you in to foul people. Just foul them out.
Listen, I don't have a problem being a disciplinarian. I don't have a problem being a disciplinarian on the court.
We need a Charles Barkley in our team. You got it, buddy.
Listen, not just Charles Barkley. There's another guy. I can't remember the name now. He played for the Celtics. He played for the Celtics, and that's all he did was just beat people up. So I'm ready to. No, we'll play nice.
Thank you, Councilman Alvarez. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman Verano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jeremy, for your report. It was great to read. I really appreciated the visuals, the pictures that showed us, how you would set up the room. I think that gave us an idea walking in there, how it's going to feel. Councilmember Dieguez is right. I've been wanting to go back to Chambers since day one. So I'm very excited to get back in there. I think that a lot of our residents are excited to come back as well. Can you remind me, because I don't have the report in front of me, how many guests can we have? How many residents can we have sitting in the chambers?
So just to clarify, the max capacity with the spacing is 33 seats total, 18 of which could be used for individuals from the public. Under this phase and under this plan, it would only be seating space for the town council and town staff at this moment. So it's 18 allotted spaces potentially for 4 individuals. If we move to that phase and we're looking to have individuals from the public seated, but under this current plan and this current logistical outlay, we are not looking to have individuals from the public seated and staying there for the duration of the meeting.
Okay, do you know when we'd be able to make that possible?
That would be a discussion of something up for discussion. However, I do know in my conversations with legal and the town attorney, we would be steering clear of that, mainly because of emergency order 10-20 within the county that is still limiting individuals gathering in government facilities exceeding 10 when it is not individuals basically doing business for the town or assuming roles for the production of the town.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeremy. Well, I'm very much looking forward to being able to have residents back in the chambers. I think that everyone else is moving forward back to normal. So I'm hoping that we can catch up at some point. I really appreciate all of the work that you put into this. This is something that has made me very happy. I've been anxious to get back, and I appreciate you helping us move in that direction, Jeremy.
Thank you, Councilman Verano. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to start off with just thanking Jeremy. It's a fantastic job that you did on this. I can tell you put in a lot of time and effort. The only observation that I had, and it was more of a question because I didn't see, when you say that you'll be putting the virtual feed onto the chamber TVs, could we also get that on the TV outside in the front of chamber? Because if we're going to have public, standing outside waiting their turn to come in and speak, they're going to want to see what's going on. And when they come back out, before we take that 15-30 minute recess, they may want to stick around at safe distance, of course, but to watch what's transpiring inside.
So that is an item that I had already discussed over with IT as far as having that mainly for staff as well as assisting with the orientation of individuals coming for public comment, so we can gauge where we at with the public commenter that's inside the chambers and when it's appropriate for the next individual to enter. So the idea to have that there presented on that outside TV and panel there is already part of it. However, once again, the option of having someone sit to watch it from there within the government building is something that, once again, like I mentioned, as far as having individuals grouping within a government facility may be an issue with that emergency order that still hasn't been rescinded or canceled.
Understood. So is the expectation until we reach that next phase that the resident would have to leave town hall?
To my understanding, on legal's end, that is the only emergency order that's still withholding us from having individuals gather within town hall.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Rodriguez, just as an aside, it's an approach that many, well, not many, the few South Florida local governments that have started to migrate to these in-person meetings have taken the same approach because of the same reason. So they've all done some sort of variation of allowing people public comments, but bringing them in, they provide their public comment, and then they're escorted out. So they're not allowed to, remain or be in the building ahead of time or afterwards. So it's the same approach that several the other local governments that have started to migrate back to public in-person meetings have done.
Got it. Understood. Thank you very much. Thanks again, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being back in town hall as long as it's safe for our visitors, our residents, it's safe for town staff, and it's safe for the council. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people out there that don't disclose their underlying conditions, be it residents, be it staff. So you never know, and I want to make sure that they're safe. We saw what happened to one of our officers, actually, who's our sergeant at arms at our council meeting, who's back. I know he's back at work. That's Officer Juan Rodriguez. So thank God. But we want to make sure that it's safe for everybody. The other thing, I have a question for the town clerk and for Hemang. A lot of residents, I mean, a lot of residents have commented to me the great job that you've all done with the virtual meetings. They feel that virtual meetings or the Zoom platform puts them on the same level playing field, right? I mean, it's a little bit intimidating when you go to a council meeting, you're sitting down and then the council's watching from above, right? So as I know we're going back in person, but how are we going to keep this platform? Is it going to be the same way that we utilized it before? I just want to make sure that the residents, especially ones that started like chiming in, listening, participate, that they continue feeling comfortable. I mean, what process do you guys have in place for all those residents, Hemang and Gina?
I don't know if Jeremy, you want to
Yeah.
that, but our intention is to continue the same way because many people are not going to be able to come or they don't want to expose themselves to do public comments. So in person, we're going to continue the same service, same quality. But Jeremy and Germán, if you want to add something to this response.
Yes, the part of public comment would remain the same. It shouldn't change. We still want to have our Zoom account for public to join public comments virtually. So the same way that we did it before COVID-19 would be applied to when we return back.
Yeah, that was just important for me because I've heard from a lot of residents who really felt that this platform brought the discussion to the same level playing field. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, if you think about it, it's a little intimidating when you go to before the council and they're 5 feet higher than you, watching down on you, yet here everybody feels pretty comfortable. Available for our residents, we have to be transparent and accessible. And I think that's really, really important, and that continues creating trust. I see the
Absolutely.
With his hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to make a quick comment, Mr. Mayor, since you were talking about public comments. This platform is still going to be available. Nothing's going to change as far as being able to use Zoom or similar platforms. The main issue is just making sure that we abide by the county ordinances with regards to the amount of people in chambers. And once we go into full live mode, that we maintain social distancing and we protect the residents, as you mentioned, and make sure they go one by one. And I just also wanted to give kudos to Jeremy. He really worked his heart out in putting that plan together. So congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. So Mr. Manager, you need direction on this, correct?
Well, I mean, we may not have a choice in November because if the governor chooses not to renew, we have no choice but to resume and go back to in-person meetings using this logistical plan. But if you could take a motion now that no matter whether he extends or not, you could take a motion now giving us direction to do it no matter what, and then we can have a clear path. And in November, we're going back to in-person meetings using this logistical approach that Jeremy put together.
In that case, I'll go ahead and I'll move that we start effective next month at our regular council meeting, that we resume meetings in the council chambers in accordance with the plan presented by Mr. Boswell.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. Since we're on this item on the manager's report, I think I might want to make another motion. There's something else that's been bothering me that I keep getting calls about, and I see people continuously calling me about and talking to me about is the situation at the basketball courts. We're one of the few municipalities that continuously has basketball courts closed, and there's a lot of people that are frustrated by that. since we're on manager's report, I just want to make a motion to direct staff to reopen our basketball courts.
I'll second that.
I'll go around for discussion. Councilman Dieguez.
No, just that I've heard the same complaints, and I'd like to. I think we're at that point where we can do so safely. So yeah, I'll be supporting.
Councilman Collazo. Councilman Collazo.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'll be supporting. Yes, received complaints, seen the basketball courts, nets held up, and I'll be supporting the reopening of those as well.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the item with one exception. I think the basketball court on Northwest 169th Terrace, I've heard from a lot of residents in that area that they'd like to keep it closed for right now until we get into a different stage. It's in a residential neighborhood. It's not a basketball court at a park per se. So as an open space, it doesn't have as much space. There's really not that much space for parking in that area. So I would ask that we keep the one at 169th Terrace closed and then open up all the other ones.
No, I agree with you. There's no staff there anyways, and I don't even think staff drives by there very often.
Right.
So
I do.
You do drive by there, yeah.
Me and Angelo.
So I'd like to see if we can keep that one at 169th Terrace closed for the time being.
I agree with you.
Now, Mayor, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Just in the spirit of transparency, so that you have all the information, let's say when you make this final decision, face masks are required for unorganized play. So we obviously don't have the staff to be monitoring those basketball courts all the time that it's going to be open. So it's going to rely on self-policing of the participants in those pickup games.
No, and I agree, Mr. Manager. I mean, we kind of do it now, right? At our parks, most of our parks, especially at certain times of the day, people self-police. And I see it at Picnic Park West. You see the folks walking on the track. You see the people. The other day, they took over the court, and I saw them playing, I don't know, it was volleyball or what, and everybody was wearing a mask. So they're sort of, I think now in the stage of COVID, most, if not everybody, understands the importance of wearing a mask. Vice Mayor?
No, I have no problem with it. I know that there's people asking to get their kids back into the playground and get back into sports, and I agree with Councilman Rodriguez. 169th is something that we can keep closed for a while. The playground's available, and they usually has a parent with them when the kids go to the playground. But other than that, I have no problem.
Mr. Manager, there's sufficient direction on 169th, correct? Understand.
Yeah, we'll open up all of the basketball courts except for 169th, and they'll be on the honor system self-policed. If we get a complaint and a police officer responds out there, he'll only be enforcing the face mask wearing. He won't break up the game. He won't tell them they can't play basketball. He'll only be enforcing that, but only in the event that we get a complaint and we have to have an officer respond.
Got it. Councilman Ruano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, in these sports that are strenuous activities, individuals are not allowed to play without masks?
No, at this point, unorganized, only in certain sports that are organized activities, they're allowed in certain instances to compete without a mask. Unorganized play, pickup games, those are still required to have a facial cover.
Okay, and I only bring it up because I can't imagine in the weather that we have, in the heat that we have, I can't imagine playing a basketball game with a mask on. Like I feel like it wouldn't be healthy to do. I mean, I'm okay opening the basketball courts, and I really hope that the residents enjoy the game, but I can't imagine. I mean, I've been canvassing with a mask on, and it's strenuous just to walk in the heat with a mask on. So I just want to make sure that everybody is safe, and I don't think that playing with a mask on is safe at all. But I guess we'll play it by ear and let's see what happens.
Councilman Alvarez.
Councilwoman Ron, you should try Orange Theory Fitness with a mask. They're enforcing it, and that's a challenge. Do a couple of pushes and all outs, and you'll see how you're gasping for air.
I'm pretty sure the doctors would not support that.
I might have to tap into Vice Mayor Rodriguez, give me an oxygen tank every year.
No, I understand, Councilman Alvarez, that your trainer, from direct relation that I have with him, says that you're slacking in your training because of the mask. So I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to cut a hole in my mouth yet.
His trainer happens to be a firefighter that works with me. So I hear about Ryan.
Ryan, great guy.
Yeah.
I'll fully support this as well, Mayor. Keep 169 closed and open everything else.
Any further discussion, council? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We're on to the town manager's monthly police report.
Major Ruiz.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Emma, when you get a chance, start my video. Good evening, Javier Ruiz, your town commander. We continue. There we go. No, wait. There we go. We continue to be down in overall crime. I don't have much to add to the police report. This past month, your officers have continued to work hard. We did make some significant arrests especially in the East area. Our officers responded to a bulletin of a stolen vehicle in the area of 57th Avenue and 160th Street. They also, on a separate occasion, responded to a report of a vehicle burglaries in the Costco parking lot. In both instances, our officers responded quickly. They identified the subjects in their vehicles and took them into custody, recovering the stolen vehicle and recovering stolen property as well. So they're out there making arrests. The last week of September, after the last council meeting, we did have an LPR hit in the area of Miami Lakes Drive and the Palmetto Expressway. Our officers saturated the area. They located the vehicle. It was a vehicle stolen out of Plantation, and they took the driver into custody, recovering a stolen firearm in the process. As the mayor indicated earlier, Juan Rodriguez is back. He's back as of yesterday, back to full duty and working school details and basically doing his complete and total job. And so personnel-wise, we're doing very well. And with that, I will open up for any questions or comments or any questions anyone has.
Council, any questions? I won't go around. Just jump in. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Thank you. First and foremost, welcome back, Officer Rodriguez. We are very happy that you are back with us. I wanted to. I caught you guys a little bit late. I was late tuning into this meeting, so I wanted to know, did we have a public speaker join us with respect to some comments that he had about some issues that he's been noticing in the town that he wanted to share with the mayor?
No public comments.
Okay, maybe he wasn't able to join us. I met him yesterday, and I apologize because we met quickly and I did not catch his name. But there was a couple of things that he wanted to bring to our attention. He's going to be joining us at one of our council meetings. He discussed with me that there's a presence of individuals that park their vehicles in the parks in the evenings, and that people that just kind of loiter in the park in the evenings. He mentioned Picnic Park West. He also mentioned the area of Miami Lakes Optimist near the playground. And there was some other concerns that he wanted to bring up. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Maybe he'll join us at the next meeting. I'm not sure, but I'll make sure that I'll see him again, and I'll make sure that I reach out to him and ask. Have you had any instances of individuals in the parks in the evening hours?
No, we haven't gotten a lot of complaints in those terms of people in the parks in the evenings. However, if you, through the town manager, are able to get me the name and the phone number of that person,
I will.
we can move forward, and I personally give him a call and find out what his concerns are, so that we can address them as quickly as possible, and we can move on from there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Major. He patrols the area. He works for a security company, so he patrols some of the area in the evening. So there's some things that he's seen that he wanted to bring to our attention. So I'll make certain to get him in contact with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, anyone else want to jump in? Just unmute yourself and jump in.
I just wanted to say a few words. First of all, complimenting the major and the town manager on assisting us again with the food distributions. We made a request of the town to see if some of those costs could be covered by CARES Act, and I think between the major suggestion and the manager's deployment, we're going to be able to continue to support some of that food distribution activity at the church. Now it's going on Saturday, so I want to thank them both publicly for finding creative ways to address that concern in the community and making sure that everybody's safe. And secondly, I want to compliment the major. There was a constituent issue that came through me regarding speeding on 67th Avenue. Your actions have not gone unnoticed. Major, I know that resident wants to set up a meeting, see what else can be done, but I just wanted to compliment you and thank you for taking action and doing what you've done to address her concerns. So thank you, Major.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Anyone else?
No, I just want to say to the major, thank you, Major, and your staff and all for all the good years. I know that you guys have done a fantastic job. And in reference to speeding on 87th Avenue, your enforcement, like Councilman Coy also says, it shows, and we just need to keep up that appearance that you guys are doing, and we truly appreciate it. We see that the officers are back, although traffic hasn't been bad because there's not the volume of students going to school is not there, but the officers are back on Miami Lakes Drive, and it shows the how well traffic is flowing. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Major. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
All right, we're done with the town manager's police report and council. Well, today, I know we're celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know town staff, usually we have a big presentation. We do a lot of proclamations, but make sure that we get the information out. I know town staff's working with a group that they're going to do free mammograms and work with the community. And I don't know if you want to talk about that, Mr. Manager, real quick. Mr. Manager, yeah.
Yeah, Claricel.
Good evening.
Breast cancer, Claricel, to talk about the initiatives that we're doing for breast cancer awareness.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Miami-Dade County Police breast cancer awareness vehicle will be visiting Town Hall at 10:15 a.m. It would be wonderful for all of you to be there with us and take some photos, and we'd be happy to post them on social media. We're also, the park staff painted a pink ribbon at the Roberto Alonso Community Center and Royal Oaks Park, which we've also posted on social media. That's all.
Got it. Thank you, Claricel.
My pleasure.
So council, tonight is the vice mayor's last council meeting with us. I won't be adjourning tonight's meeting. He will be adjourning tonight's meeting, and I'm sure saying a few words. I know tomorrow we'll be talking about him a little bit more, but I did want to say tonight that that I am gonna miss him. When you hang out with somebody for 8 years, you create a certain level of trust, a certain level of confianza. I mean, if you go to any town event, you go travel with us to Tallahassee, you kind of hear Nelson and I always going back and forth, and that's something I'm gonna miss. He is part of the reason why this town did a 180, why we're moving in the right direction. I mean, he was he's me and him are the last members of that council that took on corruption head on, that took on all the things that were wrong in this community, that took those things on and really he's had things happen to him and his family and the sacrifices he's had to make. So on behalf of all of our residents, I wanted to thank you for your years of service. Tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit more about you, but I did want to tell you I am going to miss you. I'm going to miss sitting next to you. I'm going to miss all those times. Literally, we would go almost every single ribbon cutting and stuff. We would always mess around because that was just la confianza that you build, right? When you go through adversity with somebody, you know, you kind of build that bond. But I did want to say that and again, everybody watching, tomorrow we'll be talking a lot more about the vice mayor. We'll be getting more into his accomplishments, his time up here. But being that tonight's his last council meeting, I did want to say that he will be adjourning the meeting, and I did want to say that I am going to wholeheartedly miss him. He's forget about a colleague. He's my friend, and his family are friends of mine. So I will definitely miss you, Nelson, from sitting up here on the dais with us. And tomorrow I'll be saying a little bit more because it'll be the official day that we'll be recognizing you. But today is the last council meeting day. I don't know if council, anybody has anything else you want to say, or Nelson, you just want to jump in?
I just want to thank Vice Mayor Rodriguez because I will never look at Ron Burgundy the same way again, thanks to him. So thank you, Vice Mayor.
I agree with that sentiment.
For changing that outlook on Ron Burgundy for me for a lifetime.
Go ahead if anybody else has got to go.
No, listen, I'm going to echo similar sentiments that the mayor made, and you know, in just Councilman Alvarez really spoke to a different type of relationship that we all share. You know, we obviously we're colleagues on the dais, but sometimes you know, we become friends throughout this process, and one of the things that the vice mayor has been a friend to all of us, and I will miss him dearly. I will miss the levity that he's added sometimes on our excursions outside of town hall. And, you know, for all those people that want to find out more, not just about Ron Burgundy, other Rons as well, we'll be more than happy to entertain those conversations in private. So thank you, Vice Mayor, just for being a friend to all of us and injecting levity sometimes in very serious conversations. And I think that's kind of brought us all together as a council. And that's something that we shouldn't take lightly, because those moments have created strong bonds among us. So thank you, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Of course, yeah, jump in.
Yeah, I'm going to miss Nelson. Nelson and I, we're not family, but you know, we share a common family. And I know Nelson to be a fantastic family man and father. And I also know him to be battle tested. And I can say that early on, when I joined the council, he gave me some guidance and some advice. And I'll obviously always appreciate that, and really know that he had my back quite a number of times when I needed it. And I wish him the best in whatever endeavors he goes forward with.
Mayor, if I may, as well.
Of course.
Vice Mayor, it has been an honor to work with you. We both started around the same time, 8 years ago. Thank you for your many hours and your optimism always coming into town hall, talking to staff always, sharing stories. So thank you. You will be missed. And gracias. We love you. We all love you.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Thank you, Nelson. Nelson, we go back to EAB days. We go back to PTA days. Our passion for children's education and for schools and teachers, drew us together very, very early on. So I feel like we've known each other forever. Thank you for your service to the community. Thank you for always being a good friend to me. I know that these council meetings via Zoom have kept us from being neighbors on the dais, but I appreciated every moment that we shared. It's been wonderful. It's been a great experience. Thank you for being a Miami Laker through and through. And I know that we're going to continue to see each other, continue to share moments together as community members, but you will be missed dearly at our meetings.
Mayor. Jump in next.
No, go ahead, Josh.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. The vice mayor and I, the first time I met him was in 2012 when I was a campaign manager for then Councilman Tony Lama, or rather before he even became a council member. So, Nelson was one of the candidates in that year to come in along with you, Mr. Mayor, and that was the first time I met him. And Tony Lama, that is, I think described him perfectly, and it formed the basis of my remarks in the Laker, which is that he is first and foremost a family man. And he's, in the time that I've known him in the last 8 years, that certainly has panned out to be true. And that, even when you're going to disagree with him, you know that his heart is pure, that he's coming at it from a pure place. I've seen that in the 8 years that we've gotten to know one another. And as I've gotten to know your family, your devotion to them is clear, as well as your devotion to our community. So thank you for that. You will be missed. And I just also would like to take it a little bit of a step further. And that is that, when I got elected and I gave my remarks at my installation ceremony, one of the things I harped on was showing that local government can work, that you can disagree with one another without being disagreeable. And I just wanted to push back on a notion that I think has been permeating into social media, which is no surprise that it would be social media where this idea is permeating, which is, after all, social media has become in many ways a pretty toxic place. But the reality is that just because you may get along with people off the dais does not mean that there is a symptom of groupthink. The reality is that we all can arrive at the same conclusion using different ways of getting to there. And even when you disagree with somebody strongly, and the vice mayor and I have not always been on the same side of things, I've disagreed with him pretty strongly on certain things over the last 2 years, but we have never stopped being cordial to one another, being respectful to one another, and even, yes, being friendly with one another and having laughs and being able to set aside those disagreements to focus on the fact that he's just another human being trying to do right by his community like the rest of us are. So with that, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, thank you very much for being a great public servant. Thank you for, yes, all the laughs. I'm sure that, the public official from the state of Florida who is running now for Senate, he'll never forget where Miami Lakes is from. That's for sure. And his his understanding of Ron Burgundy will also be forever changed. So with that, thank you for your years of service to our community that we both love very much. Thank you for your relationship as a colleague and someone I can now call a friend. Thank you. Take care.
Vice Mayor, it's truly been an honor to serve on this council with you. You provided some guidance to us newcomers, and I really saw you always as a voice of reason on the council, even though we, again, like Josh said, we may not always agree on things, but you always approached everything with the best intentions and with Miami Lakers at heart. So you are a true Miami Laker, and we really, really thank you, and your family should be very, very proud for the years of service that you've given to this community. So thank you again.
Vice Mayor, just want to echo what Mr. Gastassi said.
No pun intended, the echo.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you and learning from you, and you will be missed.
Vice Mayor, and we've known each other for a very, 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 very long time, over 40 years. You know, in the parks of Hialeah, Southeast Park, and I just want to thank you for really, once I was selected, for the incredible amount of support. I never felt that I had a stronger supporter than you on this council, and I really appreciated that, especially in the early months when I was getting my feet wet and getting acclimated to the new position. I really felt that I had a friend and a supporter in you, and I appreciated all of your support over the last almost 2 years now. So thank you very much, and I want to wish you quit working, retire, go enjoy your boat, relax, enjoy the beautiful South Florida, everything that it has to offer. Don't be stupid like me and continuing to work.
And can you hear my wife? Can you hear my wife screaming in the back, going, "Yes, we're gonna go on the boat"?
Enjoy.
Thank you. So, you know, it's been a real privilege to serve Miami Lakes and my community. And I'll talk a little bit more about Miami Lakes tomorrow in my farewell speech. I got it down to just under 200 pages now. So we'll Manny cut out some time for my farewell speech. Gina was reviewing it today, and I think we're just under a ream, right? Gina, a ream of paper.
That's right. Prepared for that speech.
I'm not a long-winded person, so you know that.
No.
And I'm going to use every acronym that I've learned and every little thing that I've learned from each and one of you folks in this council. And by the way, this is for you. You know how it is, Jeffrey. You sit at the meetings and click, and I love it. I'm trying to figure out what is that noise, and it's Jeffrey clicking next to me. But listen, it's been a real privilege. Me and Manny went through hell back in those early days, and the town was in a real bad predicament. And that dinosaur laid eggs, and it's still haunting us today. I mean, it was on the agenda still today. Our attorneys are still working on that mess. And so, you know, that team in 2012 was able to put the town back into track. And then the next few council members that joined in became part of the team. And I hope, and I thank you, Councilman Dieguez, for saying that, because one of my promises when I got elected was to bring civility back to the town council. And I think that between Mayor Sid and Tony Lama, we were able to direct that civility. And again, I'll direct some more words tomorrow, but it's been a complete pleasure to work with you guys. It's emotional because it's your community, and you got to see the change that 8-year process went through. And today was a little bittersweet because I cleaned out my office. I still got some stuff I got to go back to get, but I understand that I'm going to have entry privileges into town hall. So I'll still have that. They have a fingerprint thing set up for me so I can go in through the COVID protocol. But no, listen, it's we've developed a personal relationship. But the biggest thing is, I consider this a sport, right? And on the days, you play hard with your friends, and then you go hang out and have a beer. And it's just like a sport. And if you can't do that, and you take it personal, then this is not going to work. And we see what is happening in Washington, D.C. with taking it personal and taking those sides. And it's such a privilege to watch this council come together after all the craziness that we went through in 2012 and 13. But it is really, really amazing, and it's a great team. And I know the people that will join you, the one person that will join you will continue to have that spirit, and please treat them as well as you treated me. And by the way, I did send a picture of Ron to Gina today to include in a little, I guess, I don't know if she put it in there, but I did send Ron's picture today that we took with Ron in Tallahassee. And they'll never forget us, but just so that you know, I did
Not
send it.
included.
It's included? No?
Tomorrow, no. But if it's very important for you, we'll include it.
Yeah, I think Ron is
Morning.
really.
Gina, it's very important to all of us.
Okay, say no more, Councilman Collazo. The picture will be included.
Yes, there's a little bust of Ron there.
I saw it.
Mr. Burgundy is important to that trip to Tallahassee. So, but once again, thank you guys, and I'll see you. Hopefully, I'll see you all tomorrow. And Mayor, I guess this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Good night. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good night.
Good night.